Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're out on my deck to pot up the last of the marginals. I'm hoping that the mic that I'm using will be adequate with all the wind we're having. It's extremely hot this week, so I wanted to get this done. The local nursery near me just opened back up, so I went to try and support local, and I just wanted to show you guys an example of a few different ways on how to pot up pond plants for our summer tubs, patio ponds, and mini ponds. It's pretty simple. I've been doing it the same way for almost a decade, and I've had really great results. Now this year, if you remember, I have up until now just been using plants from previous years, as I do overwinter all of these, both in my greenhouse and before I had a greenhouse in my yard. And it's a very duplicable thing. So I've gathered together some supplies. I thought we'd take a look and put together a few pots. Let's get started. So I've gathered together a few supplies to share with you guys. I have one of the Laguna floating baskets, which I particularly like. What's nice about these is they don't generally tip over. You don't have to line them, and they float, so you don't have to worry about anchoring them to the sides of the containers like I do with a lot of the plants who don't like to be particularly deep in the water. I have some just plain 10-inch rectangular baskets. These are the ones that I like to use when I'm anchoring to the sides of my tubs, as I can fit zip ties easily through these holes. And then I have a little solid walled pot. This is going to be for a Lotus. I got my first Lotus for this year, so I'm pretty excited about that. So we're going to go ahead. I picked out a range of plants, which I'll show you shortly. I didn't buy very much this year because there wasn't much that I didn't already have. And I've shown you guys in previous weeks just how many plants I have from previous years. But I wanted to take this opportunity to sort of refresh how I do this for you guys, especially if you're new here or you haven't watched the previous 4 seasons of summer tubbing. We're going to start by planting my Lotus. This is a dwarf variety that I ordered online called Green Maiden. And it came several months ago now, so I've been keeping it in the refrigerator, as you have to wait to plant these until it's consistently hot and mild overnight. Otherwise they fail to do well. You can see I ordered one and they actually sent me 3, but I'm going to plant them all together because I only have the one pot. And it's going to go in this solid pot. Now for lotuses and lilies, you want a solid walled pot. It makes it easier to fertilize and not lose that fertilization to the water column. And for this small variety, you want a pot that is about 16 to 20 inches apart, which this is, and it doesn't need to be particularly deep. These guys grow best in shallow. So I just have some generic topsoil mix here, and I'm going to fill the pot mostly full. My local nursery was actually out of the aquatic soil, but it shouldn't really matter too much, as I'm going to be fertilizing anyway. Now you plant these a few inches deep, but you want these growing points, which are these black points, exposed. So I'm just going to dig a little trench with my finger and cover everything but those growing points. So hopefully this will go well, and I'm going to cap it with a little bit of black blasting sand just so that the soil doesn't float out. You could use any sort of gravel or anything you want. I just happen to have a lot of this sand around from my bog. Again, make sure you're not covering up all those growing points. And that'll be it for that one. Super simple. Now for plant choice, I just went to my local nursery and picked through what they had. I generally like to purchase local because usually it's plants that'll do well in your climate. The vast majority of them come with tags that tell how deep, what sun requirements, and how big they'll get, as well as what zone they'll overwinter in. And I found that by buying at my local stores, almost everything that I purchase overwinters just fine here, as long as you insulated the bit. So we're going to just pick some groupings. I tend to make mixed planters simply because I overwinter everything the same way, and it's sort of survival of the fittest. With some of these plants, you can break off multiple plants. You can see this one has 2 clear bases, maybe even more, probably 3. So you can really get some good bang for your buck. And we're just going to go ahead and make some planters. I'll tell you which each plant is as I plant it and why I'm choosing the various containers that I do. So we're going to start with this little Laguna floating basket, and you can see it's got a fabric bag which allows for the water to saturate it, but holds the soil in really nice, and it has a very thick styrofoam ring. I'll make sure to put affiliate codes down in the comments on where you can purchase these. I do get a small commission off that, but that's certainly not my motivation. I've been using these for years and years, and Fluval or Hagen was nice enough to send me a few new ones this year for me to share with you guys. So one of the obstacles about working with these is that the fabric is soft, so I like to set them in one of these other baskets to fill with soil. It actually works out pretty well. Again, I'm using my generic soil because I don't have any of the aquatic soil. This does mean that you need to put a good cap of gravel or sand. Otherwise, some of it will float to the surface, which, you know, you can net out, but why do that if you don't have to? And I'm going to pick a tall plant for the middle. Something that this is one that I want to put in my budget tub from last year. So I'm going to pick some of this sedge. I just think it's really pretty. It'll be nice and tall. And you can see this one blooms midsummer. It may get greenish flowers. It's good for shade, which is good for this tub and why I chose that. And it gets about 2 feet tall, as you can see. So, pop it out. Oh, let me grab a waste bucket. So we're just gonna pop it out of its container. And I like to free up the roots a bit, knock off some of that surface soil. Just makes it easier to plant. But I'm trying to be gentle with the roots. I don't want to damage them. This is a pretty mature plant. I'm just trying to soften things up so it'll have an easier time rooting into the new media. You could rinse them if you want, but I find that generally just doing a gentle shake makes the roots nice and open. Dig a hole in the pot, push it down, cover the top with soil. And then I'm going to pick something that's going to sort of spill over. You guys know I use a lot of Creeping Jenny. But I picked up this lemon Bacopa Carolina, and it should spill across the edge really nicely. Now, some of your aquarium plants would actually do really well. A lot of the Bacopas and Ludwigias and things like that as well. Immersed on the edge. They just may go through a transition period initially. Now you can see this is one that I can easily split. And we'll take that, just press it in along the edge. And then this way, instead of it just being one massive clump, we can have a more well-rounded looking basket. And then again, I'll just take my sand, pile it on top of the soil. And this just holds the soil in place until it's fully saturated so it doesn't float all over the pond. Simple, easy, takes no time at all, and very inexpensive. Up next, we're going to do one of these mesh baskets. And for these, I like to grab old newspaper and line them. Otherwise, the soil can leak out through the sides. You could use really anything. You know, I like to use paper because the roots will grow through it. So I just press it in so that it blocks the holes, but the water, of course, will still be able to get through. And again, this still allows for great root development from the oxygen content that it receives. You want to make sure you fold down the edges below the edge so that you don't see it once it's full of soil. And then I'll fill it with soil. Now you may need to adjust the paper as you fill. And again, these are the baskets I like because it's easy to drill holes in the edges of your tubs and then affix your baskets with zip ties or twine or wire or whatever you'd like. For this one, I'm going to put in this thick boy. This is just a common canna lily. You can see it costs 10 bucks. These guys should flower really beautifully. And they bloom in the summer. And they get pretty darn tall, about 3 feet. You can see this one is getting there. And I like to use these different canna lilies and stuff because they attract butterflies and hummingbirds, and that's just a beautiful bonus in my opinion. So again, this is one that the roots can be wet, but you don't want it to be particularly deep in the water or it will rot and die. You can also grow these terrestrially, and I hope I can get this pot off because it is so root bound. Oh my word. I'm gonna have to get scissors for that. So this one is so root bound, I'm gonna have to cut the pot and peel it off. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Wow, I'm not even going to be able to soften that guy up. Now you can see there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants here. Tempted to try and break it apart, but I think it'll make a more stunning display if left whole. So I'm going to plant that with these crowns just at the soil level. Holy mackerel. All right, and then let's see. I picked up some of this Alternithera. This is raspberry swirl. It's not a plant I've worked with before, but this is going to be a full sun pot, so I thought that the reds would be a nice foil to the white flowers that this will get. And this one says, yeah, needs the same water conditions, adequate moisture, whatever that means. So again, pop this out, dislodge some of the soil. I think I can probably break this one into a few different portions as well. To see what it looks like when we... So generally I'll pick a tall plant and then shorter plants for the edges. It seems, you know, pretty sensical or logical. I don't know if I can break this one apart or not. There we go. So you can see we have 2 portions. Now I'm hoping this will spill. It may not. We'll have to see. And this is probably all I'll put in this pot. And again, I'll take my sand and cover the surface. And then go place it in a tub. Now because the Lotus like it hot and relatively shallow, I've chosen to put it in this really low tub. I'm just topping it off so that the Lotus is actually underwater. This tub houses my pygmy sunfish, and I think if the Lotus grows there, it will be really, really stunning. So yeah, we'll just top that off, and then it should be good to go. I'll fertilize it every few weeks throughout the growing season, and we'll see what happens. Now, this is the Tough Stuff 40-gallon budget tub that I built last year. That has my DIY waterfall basket, the black taro, and some sunset loosestrife. You can see that I've placed the planter that we just built a few minutes ago in here as well to float, just to fill things out, as this taro and this taro can get absolutely massive. So this planter will get a bit of shade, and this part of my yard is not as sunny as the rest. So these lower light plants should do really well here. Now I've placed the canna lily and the red plant on top of a paver in this tub so that they stay super hydrated, but they're not underwater. And I think they'll look really, really good. You can see really everything out here is just doing amazingly well. I'm super stoked. I do pardon the air conditioner sound, but it is in the 90s today, so it's inevitable. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the last couple of planters. It's the exact same process, and then I'll show you and tell you what the plants are when I'm finished, and we'll go ahead and place them in the tubs. I'm going to get to work. Miniature spear wart. This one gets little yellow flowers and creeps. This root mass is intense, to say the least. And that's from being grown in one of these solid wall containers, which is why I move it to these ones that have the holes, so that the roots don't become so compact like this. And then I think I'm going to take, this is some of the mini pennywort, the Hydrocotyl umbellata, which is one of my favorites, and I actually have a lot of it, but I just like it so much that I wanted to get more. This one you can literally just split in half. There we go. This is a Dwarf Bluebell. This one I think gets pretty tall. Doesn't actually say. We'll find out together, I guess. Now, a lot of the plants that I chose, again, attract pollinators, which I particularly like. This is just a blue rush. And again, I'll take some more of the Hydrocotyl. So that's all I have for you guys this week. I am a sweaty, filthy, dirty mess, but the tubs look amazing. I hope everyone is staying safe, staying healthy. And if you are making any of your own summer tubs or playing around with pond plants like this, please tag me on Instagram. I really enjoy seeing what you guys are doing and how your projects are going. I currently have fry already in about 7 of my tubs, and for just a few weeks out, I'm super geeked about it. As always, thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you in the next video.